4, 3.
Fuck it.
There's no words on it.
Tomorrow. Fuck it.
We'll do it live.
Fuck it.
I've never seen that.
Fucking thing sucks. There's no words there.
Fuck it.
There's no words on it.
Tomorrow.
Fuck it.
We'll do it live.
Fuck it.
I've never seen that.
Fucking thing sucks. There's no words there.
I don't know. Fuck. 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 I don't know what. Go. I can't do it.
Fuck it.
Go. I can't do it.
Fuck it.
Go. I can't do it.
Fuck it.
Go. I can't do it.
Thanks again for watching.
Fuck it.
There's no words on it.
Tomorrow.
Fuck it.
We'll do it live.
Fuck it.
I've never seen that.
Fucking thing sucks. There's no words there.
Fuck it.
There's no words on it.
Tomorrow.
Fuck it.
We'll do it live.
Fuck it.
I've never seen that.
Fucking thing sucks. There's no words there.
Okay. Ready?
Take it away.
Go. Yeah. Go. Yeah. Go. Yeah.
Fuck it.
We'll do it live.
Go. Yeah. Go. Yeah. Go. Yeah.
Fuck it. Fuck it.
We'll do it live.
Fuck it.
Go.
Fuck it.
Go.
Fuck it. Fuck it.
Go.
Fuck it.
Go.
Fuck it.
What does that mean? To play us out?
Fuck it.
To end the show? Yeah.
What the fuck is up, everybody? Episode 2. We're doing the damn thing. You know, if you're here early, you know what's about to happen. Let's go with a seed giveaway right off the bat. Alright, so close-up cam. Get this out of here. Stockton slap. You guys should be able to hear me on close-up cam this week. Thumbs up, everybody, if audio is good. If you can hear me, thumbs up in the old chat. All right, Stockton slap up for Gabs. The way we're going to win this fucking thing is the same basically as last week, but here's the email address that you all need to learn. darkhorsegeneticslive@gmail.com. So go ahead and load that up. And how you're going to win these seeds before you just email Stockton slap, because that's not how we're doing it this week. I want to know who's going to win between Cowboy and Connor. So you're going to have to write in the subject line, write Stockton slap Connor or Stockton slap Cowboy, and if you pick the correct fighter this weekend, you shall win this pack of seats. Also, if you won last week, folks, let's not do multiple winners. Same guy wins every week. Let's chop it up. So, like, if you've won, how about you got to wait 4 shows till you win something else? But yeah, Stockton slap. Stockton slap is up for grabs right now. Email darkhorsegeneticslive@gmail.com. So pack of seeds right out the gate, right out the door. All right. So today, what are we going to talk about? I get this same question in the DMs kind of a lot, where people are asking, like, what's up with starting a shop? How do you start a shop? How do you start a grow? How do you start a MIP? Like, how do you do this? How does someone start that's, doesn't have a fistful of fucking dollars, and what is the process to do all this shit or whatever? So we're going to break that down. I'm going to try to make it not as boring as possible. So I'm going to try to give you a 101 of the steps and the hoops you jump through to do this shit, and kind of explain, why shops kind of suck now versus when they started. We're also going to go down memory lane, and I'm going to play a little Daily Show clip, and we're going to talk about how shops were in 2009 versus kind of how they are now. Shops in 2009 were it was like the Wild West in Colorado or in Denver. So basically there was a handful of shops, and we started ours in about 2008 maybe, and we were maybe the 4th or 5th people to start a shop, on Broadway in Denver, Colorado, probably within the first 10 in the state. Or I should say I was one of the first people to start a shop on Broadway, and back then all you needed was a $15 retail license from the city of Denver, and you were nothing more than like a gift shop. And basically you sold weed. If you had the balls to let them hang on Broadway, you posted up with your weed for sale and you did it. They were basically consignment shops. So we would take people's product, turn around and sell it. And that was the market then. It was a really interesting market because we had fire weed. The whole community was supplying the store with the products. So I would say in 2009, there was higher quality product on the shelf than there is in 2020, which is kind of fucked up. And we'll take a look at how we got there. But first, let's see how they dragged me 10 years ago on the Daily Show. There's a few things I want you to see when you're watching this video. Look at the prices on the wall. This is 2009. You'll see price tags that are 50 an eighth, 100 a quarter, 400 an ounce. It's just interesting to see. And one thing I'll say about this show is we'll talk about it after it's over, how it was filmed and everything else, but we knew we were going to get dragged on this show. So we were strategic about doing it. I would call it mental chess. Let's just say they filmed this for 4 hours and spliced it together in, I don't know, maybe a 3-minute video or whatever. But let's take a look at this clip real quick, folks. So what the fuck, right? That was 10 fucking years ago. And not a lot of shit has changed in the end, but a few things I'll say that a couple things that pissed me off about that. We were not in business for 4 months. We were in business for 2 fucking years. So the way they filmed this shit, just for anybody who just never, I mean, I'm sure y'all probably get the gist. We know that Daily Show fucking edits and splices and cuts everything up. But the way it kind of came to be was we got like 3 or 4 calls at the shop about from the Daily Show producers talking about they wanted to do a feature on weed. And I was kind of like, bullshit. I think we hung up on like 3 times in a row because we thought it was crank call. But eventually, we got to the point where we got we got the producer on the phone. We talked about it. He kind of talked about doing a big pot versus little pot thing. And we're gonna have some fun, but we're not gonna trash anybody or anything like that. But what's interesting about that was you have to understand the time frame. So this is time frame of 2009, 2010, and in Colorado, there's a famous name that he doesn't necessarily want to be famous, but for his case, but it was a Barkowitz case, and this guy went on 9 News right around the same time, and we were all operating our dispensaries with a $15 retail sales tax license, and then we were caregivers, we had patients, and it was all covered under the medical aspect of how we ran our stores. But Barkowitz went on TV on 9 News and showed the basement, showed his patients. He made the mistake of talking about how much money he had made on TV and how this program works and how he makes hundreds of thousands of dollars out of his basement and everything else. Well, the feds took offense to that, so they raided Barkowitz the next day. And this is a federal case. This isn't the local police or anything else. This is a federal deal. So when they came and they're like, Jason, you want to go on national TV? Initially it's like, fuck no, I'm not going on national TV to talk about I'm a weed grower. It's federally illegal, everything else. But I kind of just sort of thought it through and figured, this is my fucking career. I wouldn't advise anyone to go on national TV if they're not fully committed into cannabis, because once you let that cat out of the bag, I mean, there was family members that didn't know what I was doing. I don't even know if my own father knew what I was doing at the time that I did this interview, but still, that's it. We decided to do the interview, but I had my lawyer standing right over my shoulder to the left. And I did what I would call verbal mental chess with this fucking dude, Jason Jones, there on TV. He's a Canadian dude. He's all right. It's his job to fucking fuck with me, so there's no hard feelings there. But I try to get him high. He's a Canadian on a green card, so he wouldn't fuck around smoke any weed at all. But we were playing this verbal mental type of chess that was going on because he was asking me questions, and I knew that they were trying to use that footage for essentially cutting room floor and chop it up. So he would ask me a question, what color is the sky or whatever, then ask another weird question. And then he's trying to get me to say certain answers so that they can use those responses into the Daily Show or whatever. And we had to sign legal documents saying that they can cut us up however they want. And the same stuff they make the senators and all those other people sign at the time. But it was an interesting thing to do that show and just to kind of to see the big business versus small business. And we knew that, they were going to drag us, but at the same time, I remember my main thing that after I walked away from that was like, they didn't use a single response to a single question. So every question that you saw that appeared on air, the response to that question was from a different question. So you want to talk about like a chop job, but hey, that's Comedy Central. So we'll move on. But I just wanted to talk about 2009, 2010 when shops started. It was right around the corner of 2011 when regulations came. And when the regulations came, things changed dramatically. And I've been doing this for 12 fucking years. I started, like I say, one of the 10th dispensaries in the state. I've had shops in everywhere from California, Los Angeles, where it was the same deal, just a retail sales tax license, go to work. We left when Prop D kicked in. But we've had, something going on in Seattle briefly. We've had things in Denver. I've had stores in Denver. I've built and designed 3 different grows. I have a MIP lab. So I kind of know what the fuck I'm talking about in regards to designing a grow or a lab or something, in Colorado. And I would consider Colorado to be the industry standard for a lot of places because our rules are relatively the strictest rules you're going to run into. So if you build whatever you're trying to build to the Colorado standard, you really shouldn't run into any issues wherever you may be. But with that said, let's kick this off. I've never done a fucking PowerPoint presentation in my fucking life, but I sort of typed this shit up today, so we'll see. This sort of helped me keep me on track, but we'll see if we can get through this relatively quickly and sort of explain step by step how this shit sort of works. So, you want to start this shit, the first thing we're going to talk about is why are you doing it? And I'll probably spend more time on this than fucking anything that we're going to talk about today, but why are you doing this shit? If I'm going to start a Burger King, I'm going to learn every fucking thing there is about burgers. I want to know everything about sesame seeds. I want to know everything about fucking patties, meat, the bleach you use to clean the fucking floor, different types of fryers, every kind of fucking piece of equipment that's in that fucking thing. I want to learn it inside and out. And it's just my mentality of starting a business. I don't care if it's weed or a Burger King or whatever the fuck you're doing in life. If you want to do something, you need to learn the business before you jump headlong in. What I'm about to show you is not a fucking shortcut. There is no cheat sheets to this fucking business. You still got to do the fucking work. But my point is why are you doing this shit? If you're coming because you think it's the green rush, you're fucking wrong. I'll tell you right now, turn this shit off. Like, you know, this isn't for you. Because if you're coming in to start a business because you think that, you know, they must be making weed and dope, you know, or you got to be making money in weed. I don't really know how it works. I don't really smoke weed. If you don't smoke fucking weed, turn this shit off right now. Because I'm not interested in trying to help people build a business if they're not even in the industry, you know, if they don't smoke cannabis. Because there's plenty of them out there. I would say 80% of the fucking owners in the industry don't smoke cannabis because that's what we've turned into. So, and we'll explain why we got to that point. But my point is, why are you doing this shit? And if you're doing this shit because you love cannabis, it's a career, that path that you want to go down, you have a skill set that's unique that you can bring to the industry. You know, are you good at hash? Are you a great grower? Is it something that you're a younger cat and you're like, I think this is where I want to go down. So you want to learn what to learn. So if you haven't read every fucking book on cannabis in English print before you start your business, you're already off to the wrong fucking foot. So learn everything about this plant inside out, how to grow it, how to process it, how to make it into foods, edibles, salves, and then learn about the business. So from there, I just want to make sure that you're in it for the right fucking reasons right off the bat. But we'll start right off. Do you have a business plan? Listen, guys, like, I know we're weed bros and shit, but ain't no one's going to take you fucking seriously unless you take yourself seriously. So you got to fucking put together a real business plan. And, you know, it's not that hard. Get on Google, cut out a business plan or copy paste a business plan deal or whatever. But you got to think every aspect of the scenarios that you're going to go through so that your ability to present this to an investor is legit. If you walk up there with a napkin or, hey, dude, bro, I got a good fucking idea. Fuck no, I'm not giving you any money. You know what I mean? So the idea is, I can't tell you how many people I've fucking talked to in any aspect, but they don't have a business plan. I don't know what a business plan is. And a business plan is nothing more than knowing exactly, tactically, step by step, you know, how to get from here to there and how you're going to do it, the pieces involved, how much it's going to cost, and, you know, what the end game is. So with that, let's move on to the next one. This one's interesting because are you investable? And that's something that when we talk about, like, it kind of goes back to the first reasons why are you doing this. People invest in people more than they invest in businesses. You have to believe that you're the person that's going to take them over the fucking finish line. Do you have a passion for what the fuck you're about to do? If you have a passion for what you're fucking doing, then you're an investable person. Are you a responsible person? Do you return phone calls? Do you return emails? You know, do you take this shit seriously? You know, one of my favorite movies is Catch Me If You Can. Not that I want people to be con men, but there's a line in there when the dad talks to the son about you know, the Yankees always win because they douse you with the pinstripes. And what he's talking about is put on a fucking suit. Go to a fucking Joseph A. Bank or wherever the fuck you got to go. Get a $199 suit. Put on a fucking suit. You're not going to be a suit monkey your whole fucking life, but put on a suit. So when you go to your business meetings, you know, you're not necessarily your meetings, but you're meeting your investors or going for your licensing applications or these things, you have to dazzle them with the pinstripes. I'm going to teach you that you can't just walk in there in your fucking sweatpants and your fucking business plan on a napkin. You're not going to get anywhere. So if anything, you have to start with a real plan. You take the shit serious and you get yourself a fucking cheap suit. Let's move the fuck on. Before you can start in weed, you need to get one thing clear. And a lot of you guys out there are just weed growers that have been growing weed in your basement for, I don't know, fucking 10, 20 years, whatever. You got to fix that back tax situation. There's no way that you're going to be able to be in weed or in business without back tax situation going on. So literally, all you have to do is go get an accountant and tell that accountant, like, I need to file my past back taxes, become a farmer's hand or whatever you need to file 10,000 a year, whatever you need to file to get all that back taxes covered, and then get on a payment plan so that you can move forward in business. I had to do it. It's something that you have to do. It's part of the growing up process, essentially. If you want to stay black market and stay under the radars for as long as you can, good luck with it. But I'm telling you, if you're trying to get into the cannabis industry and own something, you have to clear up those back taxes. It's frightening, but it's not that bad. Literally, just go in there, get on a payment plan, pay a couple $100 a month, and you're good. Beyond that, you have to pay your student loans back, or at least get on a payment plan with your student loans. It's not that hard either. A lot of people try to forget their student loans exist. Just call them up, get on a payment plan with your student loans. You'll be forgiven on your debts of that, so now you're current. The simplest thing that I have to describe to you guys is, it's going to get a little more complex than this, but you got to create an LLC. So that's how you start your business. I know you guys are Instagram, like some of you guys are Instagram trap stars or whatever, if you will, and you got your business on Instagram, and you're flashing your cash, and you're making your money, and you got suitcases full of cash or whatever it may be. You can't put that shit in a bank. You've got to run a real business here. So you need to, LLC is probably the greatest invention of all time. It's a limited liability company. It allows you to start a company with very limited liability towards yourself, as far as if your company fails or if you have an accident or something goes wrong. Limited liability company is where I would suggest looking, but you also, beyond that, you need an EIN. An EIN is nothing more than a business social security number. And those are free. You get on the IRS.com and you file for an EIN. Now you've got your LLC. To get your LLC, you get on the Secretary of State website, wherever you are, and you create your business. It costs like $20, $30. You file the paperwork to create an LLC. It's fucking simple. You don't need to hire anybody. You just do it yourself. $20, $30, you got your LLC. EIN is free. Now you go to the bank and you can get a business bank account. You can take checks for your business. You can do this shit in one fucking day, guys. Management company. So you want to call your company fucking whatever, fucking Stinky Dan's fucking super dank dope whatever. You can't fucking do that in the business banking or whatever that's going on today. I got to be careful how I talk here, because I'm not going to be giving any advice on banking that, federally illegal stuff here. But my point is get a nondescript management company, because you pay all your bills through this. This is, you create a management company, the exact same steps I just told you. You create two companies. You have your dispensary company, your grow, your MIP, whatever. Then you move on to your management company. You get your management company. Your management company is where you do all of your business out of. And you simply draft a letter that says, this management company represents the business of said LLC, which is your dispensary. And that's the account that you take your business money in, through, out, payroll. You run all that through there. So you need to run a management company, and your management company should be something boring and nondescript. It should be like, I don't give a shit, ABC LLC. It just can't be Canna, fucking green, dope, whatever. Like, you can't put anything at all. Don't be clever about weed shit on your management company. I'm so tired of taking checks from companies that's like, fucking Dandy Dopers Dan's fucking dispensary or whatever. It's like, dude, I don't want to deposit this in my fucking bank, because you're just going to create problems for us all. So literally, use a nondescript fucking management company, please. It's not difficult to do. No one's going to know about this company as far as publicly on your websites and everything else. No one gives a shit what your management company is called. Your business is your business. Your management company is just how you move your money around through it. Location. So now that you've decided that you want to do this shit, let's talk about how you're going to, where are you going to do it? How are you going to do this shit? So there's different places all over the fucking country. I'm going to speak a little bit towards Colorado. Now, I'll tell you right now, some places are fucking out. Las Vegas is pretty much out. That shit it's hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's locked up. I believe it's moratorium. It's all done. Places like Oklahoma, it's pretty wide open. Places like Chicago, they're opening up 85, 75, boutique licenses. There's a potential to get in over there. Colorado, there's still places there is not a moratorium where you can start a business tomorrow. Let's think Pennsylvania or PA, I would say that's pretty locked up with big money, dumb shit going on. New York's going to be really tricky. My idea is to help people do a mom and pop, per se. I'm not really trying to help fucking big business, fucking whatever, set up some shit from free consulting. This is for the guys who are wondering, can I do this? Can I break in? And when it gets to location is fucking everything. And this is where we got to talk about a few things about your location. So if you're doing a grow, you're pretty well good, but you need to look at your zoning. Your zoning needs to be industrial or ag. No mixed use, nothing residential. You need and I'll just cover it all in a general sense. So you need to be 1,000 foot away from any other dispensary if you're another dispensary. This is Colorado rules. Your rules may vary wherever you are, but 1,000 feet away from any drug rehab places. You need to be zoned correctly. Like I said, no MX stuff. It's no mixed use. It's gonna have to be, industrial, retail on the side of dispensaries, or industrial for gross. Um, be careful where you put your spot, because if it's the federal government considers parks technically I just don't want you to fucking waste any of your money per se or get in the wrong deal. A parkway is considered a park by the federal government. You want to be careful about being right next to parks. If you investing a lot of money next to a park, it's essentially a bad idea. Your power situation is fucking key. You need to look at the power. If you have power, we're talking 1,000 amps of power, whatever, for your grow or your MIP, you're totally good. But if you're sitting there at 100 amps or 80 amps or something like that, you're going to have to put in a power pole. A power pole is going to cost you at least $80,000 minimum to put a power pole in, not to mention buying the transformers and everything else. So you really looking at it like, does it have adequate power? Is it in the right area? Is it zoned correctly? I'll tell you one story about a guy in Denver, Colorado. I don't know him, but it was down that shop we just saw on the Daily Show right up the street. It was a 7-Eleven that went out of business. And the guy started putting a dispensary in there, and I'm watching him build it, and I'm going, you can't fucking put a shop there. There's no way. It's 1,000 foot away from fucking everything. It's right in the middle of the Green Mile. And he went ahead and built the whole fucking thing, and then took it in for licensing, and they obviously rejected him. And I can't tell you how many hundreds of thousands of dollars this dude's built because he didn't do his due diligence. He just thought, I'm moving to Denver. I'm opening a weed shop. I'm getting in that bread basket down there, and I'm going to start me a store. It's like, nah, it did not work. Don't be one of the fucking suckers in this game, because there's a million suckers every other fucking minute in this deal. But so yeah, location, rent or buy. This is another fucking huge deal. I know you guys don't have fucking huge money, and you can't go to a dispenser, or you can't go to a bank and be like, I'm going to buy this and do a dope project or whatever. They're not going to give you the fucking money. So a lot of you are going to be looking at renting. The problem with renting is you're going to get raked over the fucking coals because they see you as a dope or you're a weed guy. Prepare for a common theme in this hour of podcast or whatever. They're going to rip you off in everything you fucking do because you're in the cannabis business. They look at you as the gold rush or the green rush, and they say they must have fucking millions of dollars. Let's get money out of them. So just get prepared that they're all going to increase their invoice 20, 30, 40% because you're a fucking weed guy or whatever. But as far as your real estate, you got to get landlord permission. You got to do it in the right spot. And the square footage you can expect to pay is going to be astronomical. I know guys paying $25, $26 a square foot for their grow. A 4,000 or 5,000 square foot building costs you anywhere from $6,000, $7,000 to $15,000, and you have to pay this every single month. So I would highly advise you to buy. If you could buy, it's certainly the best decision to do, because then, once you spend all this in money and investment on building out whatever you're going to build, the landlord's going to come right back to you and literally fuck you and say, I want way more money, based on, I know you're locked in here. So, but a lot of times you don't have that choice. But let me teach you this real quick. Learn these words. First right of refusal. You absolutely need to put in first right of refusal if you're going to rent something. If you're going to do this, I've seen people come in with suitcases full of cash and snake someone's building. You need in your contract or in your lease saying that you have the first right of refusal to match or buy the property. As far as if lease goes up and he wants to lease to someone new for more money, you have the first right to refuse that property or that lease increase, or to buy the building. That will save you from someone snaking your fucking building. You have to do first right of refusal. Another thing about where you are is be careful of being in flood zones. FEMA will come crawl up your fucking ass if you're in a flood zone and you need what they consider the 100-year flood. And if you're in the flood plain, you have to get all these surveys done, and they will literally make you install drywall, waterproof drywall 4 or 5 feet all the way around your whole building, bring all of your equipment 4 or 5 feet in the air so that in the case of that flood, it doesn't fuck up the whole, area or whatever with electricity, blah, blah. But just be careful. If you're real close to a fucking river, they'll crawl up your ass and you need a FEMA plan. Another thing about warehouses in particular is if you want to do a big giant facility, I'd recommend smaller, because if you get over 8,000 square feet, you need fire suppression. And fire suppression is fucking expensive, my friends. You really don't want to have to put in sprinklers in somebody else's fucking building. So the idea here is go find yourself a 4,000 or 5,000 square foot building It doesn't require fire suppression, and that way all you need is a fucking couple of fire extinguishers around the wall. Check that you're not moratoriumed in your area. You may be moratoriumed where you are, that you can't do a grow or a MIP or whatever. But I know in Colorado, in Pueblo, there's not moratoriums on MIPs, and you can attach a grow to your MIP. So now you're growing, you know what I mean? And now you can produce seed, and now you can sell that flower potentially as a MIP if you were to put kief or extract or something onto that flower. Now you're in essentially the flower business. So my point is location. It might be better to you to move outside of the city a ways to save some fucking money. They're not built to suit situations, you know what I mean? So it's not like you're going to get, you may find that, but you're going to be spending your money to increase the value of some guy's property as a tenant, you know what I mean? One thing I will also tell you, if you're trying to do a lab, is be careful with some transfilling. Transfilling is the act of moving gas from one container to the next container. So to your 100-pounder out in the parking lot to your 25 or 50-pounder that you're going to bring into your closed loop. You have to follow oil and gas regulations on that, and it's going to require you to have 75 feet of boundary from the building or the property. So essentially, you have to go to outside your door, walk 75 feet. You can transfill there, but it also has to be 75 feet to your neighbor's property, 75 feet to the road, or 75 feet to the alley. So really, you need a giant fucking parking lot if you plan to do transfilling, which you're going to need to do as an extractor or running a closed loop. So look at your property again. Make sure you have the ability to do transfilling on that property. We'll talk about their strength in numbers. So you probably want to be in an area where other people are in the sense of grows or MIPS, because look, we did a grow up by Coors Field, and they literally rezoned it overnight, basically illegally. But this lady, I'll never forget her name, Judy Montero, rezoned the area we were in Denver. And they spent, a couple $100,000 designing a grow, building a grow, and overnight she decided it was rezoned to a residential thing to create it as lofts and gentrification type of situation. And we're going, what the fuck? But we were standing alone out there, so we didn't really have the power to be like, fuck you, city. We spent this money, blah blah. They just wanted the dopers out, and they wanted to make it lofts and condos. If you're in an area, a breadbasket of other grows, you have strength in numbers there where you can kind of join together, and the city won't bully you around as much. But I would say the problem with being around other people, you may have their bugs, you may have their mildew, you may have their problems. So there's a trade-off scenario there. But that's location. And that took me a minute, but location is fucking everything, guys. After you find your location, this is the fucked up part about it, is you have to get a fucking location before you even have a license or anything else. And I tell you, you can find that location. You just have to search. When I first started, I called probably 900 shops, retail stores on Craigslist, asked them, hey, can I do a weed dispensary? They all laughed at me and hung up. I got 2 or 3 yeses. I went and investigated the yeses, and I made one work. You know what I mean? So be prepared to be told no a fucking lot. Just put your blinders on and go for it. Go forward. You can find that location, but do your due diligence. You're probably going to need to get one of those wheels with a fucking stick on it, or a stick with a wheel on it in a measurement deal, and you're going to measure out 1,000 foot. In Colorado, it's not as the crow flies. You have to measure the common sidewalk path. It's what a natural human would walk on the sidewalk going across the street, using a crosswalk, crossing the street at the crosswalk, everything else such as that. So use that wheel to know your shit when it comes time to, build your thing. But here's the catch: is you don't want to build something before you can get licensed. So, but you essentially have to pick your location, you know what I mean, before you can move forward. So there's an element of risk involved in what we're doing here. But yeah, after you have your location, you have to hire an architect because you're going to retrofit this building. The architect's going to be expensive on a 4,000 or 5,000 square foot building. On a grow, you're going to spend, I don't know, $4,000 or $5,000 architect easily. After you get the architect and he designs your plan, you have to come up with your plan, right? Your rooms, your lights, everything that you're going to do. He has to put it down. You can't just build your fucking walls. You can't just pop it up and say, oh, bro, I know how to build a wall. I know how to frame. All this is going to be permitted, inspected. You're going to have to do it the proper way to do this license. But if you find your spot, and then you design it out, $4,000 or $5,000 later, you have your plan. You also need a mechanical engineer, because if you're doing a lab, we're talking C1D1, and C1D1 means Class 1, Division 1. It means it's how they build laboratories in colleges. And what it means is it's air powered, it's pneumatic. There's no electricity in this lab, so everything runs off big giant rotary screw compressors that'll be somewhere in your building, and the air will be piped into your area that is C1D1. and your cameras will be in big bomb-proof housings, and your lights will be in these big clear glass tubes. So the idea is there will never be a spark in this room. It's impossible essentially to create a spark, and all of your tools will be powered off air. You need to know about exhaust fans. You need hazardous air fans to exhaust this out. The exhaust that needs to travel in your MIP lab or your C1D1 area, it needs to be 75 to 100 feet of linear feet per minute flowing across your hash lab on the base, on the bottom floor. And that's where the fire department will come in and measure the bottom part of your floor. Your mechanical engineer will design this for you, but doesn't just stop with an architect. You need a mechanical engineer to design your MIP lab with you, so that you have the proper airflow and the proper fans. You're gonna need a gas sniffer, gas detectors, certain things that need to go in that room, eye wash stations. Another thing about your architect when he builds stuff out, he has to bring everything back to 2009 building code. This isn't for other businesses. This is how the city is using Denver, or the state is using weed to fix all the buildings up, to bring it up to code. What you need to do is create handicap bathrooms. So you're gonna have to have handicap bathrooms and retrofit your bathrooms. You're gonna have to have handicap drinking fountains. They'll go as far as to make you fix the cracks in your sidewalk in front of the building. You know what I mean? But it needs to be brought up to 2009 building code. So tell your architect 2009 building code. After architect designs what you're going to build, you submit those plans for permits in plan review. So this is what I want to talk about. This is the secret of the weed business right here. This is where they fucking fuck you. This is how this is where they keep the riffraff out. So you have your plans, you have your warehouse, you designed it up, you're rolling smooth, and all of a sudden you submit all this shit. They're going to make you resubmit 3-4 times. 3 or 4 times, essentially. I mean, unless you have a great architect who somehow smashes it right out the gate. But the idea, what they're going to do here is, I've seen it take up to 2 years. For my hash lab, it took me 2 years through plan review to get approved. And they're doing this to keep the riffraff out. They only want essentially bigger money to hang around. So this is where you get fucked when you rent a building. So you're leasing a building $4,000 or $5,000 a month, and you got to pay rent on just waiting for the fire department to review your plans for over 2 fucking years. We're talking $50,000 in rent. Say it's $5,000. You got $60,000 a year going into rent. You spent $120,000 before your plan that your architect drew up is even approved. So this is why when you're leasing your building, you need to approach your landlord. And I hope you can get him to come on board, because this is a big ask. But you need to explain to him that you're not going to be operational for 2 fucking years. And if you're not operational for 2 fucking years, like, you can't make money. You can't do shit. Not in every scenario. I know if you go down to Pueblo, your plan review can take as little as 10 fucking days. But in the bigger cities, metropolis of Denver or Chicago or everything else, expect your plan review to be 6 to 8 weeks on every review, and they're going to reject it, kick it back. Your architect's going to fix it, send it back in, and then they're going to reject it again. You're going to play this circle over and over again. So just expect that this is the part that they don't tell you. Is right now is when you get into the circle jerk of, oh, we're inspecting your plans, but all the while you got to pay rent. So if you can get on a deal with your landlord to get you're leasing the building, but maybe you're only paying $500 a month for the first 2 years, and then after you get into the third year, your rent goes up dramatically to catch up to even it out. But just understand, the first couple of years on your build out is going to be, they're going to try to slow you down from the city's perspective. I've seen it happen I built 3 of these things. It happens every single time in the city of Denver. I've never seen one go up fast. The fastest I've ever seen something built in the city of Denver through plan review and everything else, I would say maybe a year and a half, and that's no bullshit. So this is where they slow you down and jam you up. They only want big money to survive through it. Most small money bleeds out right here. So hang on through this, but now you know what to expect, so you can essentially hopefully plan or have your landlord working with you on this scenario. Now you got to hire a general contractor to build it once you actually have the plans approved. This shit is going to fucking suck, because general contract, go get 3 bids, but we talked about getting ripped off again. I don't want to slam all general contractors. There's some great ones out there. They're just hard to find. And general contractors, they'll charge you a fuck ton of money because they're going to look at you the same. This is a weed grow. These guys are millionaires. They can have tons of money, blah, blah. They hear the same sob story from all of them. Oh, we don't have any money. We're just getting started. We're a small group. And they don't give a shit. They're going to charge you a good grip of money to do the work. And you want to make sure you get someone good to build your building. You can't just necessarily go with the cheapest fucking bid, because you don't want a trash fucking build. Otherwise, you're fucked. But you can't build it yourself right now. I tell you right now, they don't allow you to build your own gardens here. I don't even know that you can get a self permit or whatever they call that. You literally have to hire a contractor to do that. You can't hang lights yourself. You can't use wood. You need to use unistrut in your building. You can't use yo-yos for the light hangers. You've got to use chain. Everything's got to be concrete, steel, unistrut. Like I say, you literally it changes the way that you build things essentially to what you might do in your garage or your basement or everything else. All that shit's out. Now we're talking commercial stuff, and it needs to be built and designed by an engineer or essentially a general contractor. But I would tell you, if you ask around, just ask around to find a general contractor, but expect to be this a steep fucking price tag to build our building, 4,000 or 5,000 square foot building. I think we spent $85,000 to $100,000 roughly in just general contractor bills, and that's 100 light grow and a MIP lab. So just kind of know where you're getting in on that one. Once you hire your general contractor, you're going for basically a CO. Your CO is a certificate of occupancy. That means you're legally allowed to take premises of the building. That means you've built it, you've been inspected, you got through everything, and now you're getting close. Now you can go get a license. That's kind of the fucked up part about the whole thing, is you've been working this long to get it, but you don't even know if you have a license. Now is when you go down to get your licenses and your plant husbandry. You need plant husbandry to grow plants or to process plants or work with plants. Possibly just grow plants, but you need plant husbandry to be able to do this. So all that is $20 and go down to your local city and apply for a plant husbandry license. Your state and city licenses, I hear people say, I saw in the comments today, 300,000 in PA, I know it's a couple $100,000 in Vegas and everything else. It's not necessarily like that in other places. Don't let the city license aspect skew you. You're going to look at $2,000-3,000 maybe. Denver's 5,000. The city is like 3,000. So with that said, your licensing shouldn't really break your bank. You'll be able to make that. Licensing will take 90 days minimum. They just won't do it quickly for you. It's not going to be something that happens fast. Your annual permits. So not only once you get done and you've got your license going and everything else, you've got to have permits to run your facilities. You can't just run facilities. You got to have extraction permits. You've got to have grow permits. You got to fire department gives you permits. You got permits for your bob wire. So just know that the permits aren't expensive. You just have to file and get all the permits in place. Like maybe $15, $20 up to $100 per permit. You need permits for storing your gas for your MIP, outside gas container storage. Now we get into the Department of Ag. See, if you're going to grow a pot, you got to understand Department of Ag is going to crawl up your ass too, because you're growing a plant. Department of Ag isn't too bad. They're just going to come in and make sure that you're not using gnarly fucking pesticides. And trust me, you don't want to be lying about your pesticides. You don't want to be trying to pull fast ones on that shit. They will come in and swab your walls, swab your plants. They will know. And then they will be the ones that red tape your shit. I've never crossed those guys. I don't want to cross those guys. But I will say, be careful of the Department of Ag and pesticides, because not everybody can just spray pesticides. You need pesticide training. It's not hard. You have to watch a highly racist video, in my opinion. It's 90 minutes long, and they teach you how to run pesticides. You take a little test afterwards. All your employees have to do it. Anyone who's registered to spray pesticides, but that's part of it. Odor control, this is stupid, but this is a thing. You pay all this money and all this stuff going on just to be able to grow weed. But you can't stink. God forbid you smell like weed in your weed warehouse. But you just need to hire another engineer real quick to come up with an odor control plan. This shouldn't be crazy hard. It should be a couple $100. But the odor control plan literally tells you where to put carbon filters throughout your building so that you don't smell. This will satisfy a health department requirement, but you need an odor control plan. Alarms and permits for your scales. So interesting thing about selling weed is they have to come in and inspect your scale. Your scale's got to weigh right? You can't be fucking jibbing people on your scale. So they'll come in and put a sticker on your scale. It's another $200-300. Notice throughout this whole process, there's a lot of people come with their hand out. It's not crazy money, but it just keeps coming nickel and diamond nonstop or whatever. So be prepared. But yeah, you're going to have to pay for an alarm permit. You have to have an alarm. You need CCTV. You need to put cameras, more cameras than you would think. You're probably in a 4,000 or 5,000 square foot building. You're probably looking at 20, 25, 30 cameras. But just know you're going to need a lot of cameras and an alarm. That way, when someone tries to break in, someone's coming monitoring your service, offsite monitoring. The alarm permit, $200 a year. Now we get into insurance and payroll. running a business is interesting. I don't care if it's a weed business or if it's any fucking business. Hire a fucking payroll company. You don't want to mess with this shit. Like, it's complicated. There's all kinds of stuff that goes into it. I don't even know the process, so I'm not going to bullshit you and say I do. But I will say, if you, if you're going to have employees, you need to run payroll on it. You need to pay them correctly. You can't just pay them cash, you know what I mean, under the table. That will catch up to you. And I would highly recommend against it. But payroll companies are not complex. Get a website, simply get a payroll company. They'll automatically pay your people every couple of weeks. Insurance sounds scary, but you can get, $1 million worth of insurance for $200 something, $250 or something like that. So don't worry so much about insurance, but you will need the insurance. You also want workman's comp insurance. That way, you must carry that insurance. So that way, if somebody were to get hurt, you're covered on something like that. Last thing you want to do is have OSHA crawl up your fucking ass because or an accident in the workplace. You know what I mean? They will shut you down for a long fucking time. That could be a whole show on fucking OSHA issues. Employees, you need to know what a 1099 is. Like, you can pay your people that you pay them, as your regular employees, you put them on the books. You can 1099 people, which is something that I would highly recommend. I guess, obviously people know what 1099 is. A lot of people do, but your trimmers are a great 1099 opportunity. If you're 1099ing somebody, you're giving them their entire amount of money and then, some documents at the end of the year, and then they pay roughly 20% of their income minus whatever expenses they have. They're operating as a business per se, or an independent contractor coming in to do a job. It's not just one of your employees. Your salary people, again, links up to your payroll or whatever, and that will be covered relatively smoothly. You don't necessarily have to worry about that, but if you can 1099 people, it'll save you on large payroll taxes each month. 280E. I want to talk about this real interesting. This is something like, well, you get fucked 280E on the retail side. On the retail side, you're literally going to run out of anything. Let's just say this is an interesting fact. So the term bud tender is actually a 280E dodge. Most people think it comes from like bartender, but it's not coming from bartender. It's coming from, so this is back in like the early days in Oakland, I believe, or Oaksterdam, when they were starting up the shops. But the IRS tax agents were there. And you can think, like I say, you can thank the cocaine cowboys for 280E, because essentially, without getting deep into it, what it means is if you run a federally illegal business or you have a legal revenue stream coming in, you're not allowed to write anything off in the course of that business. So, and this stems from when there was millions of dollars in the banks in Miami, and they knew that there was more revenue than people were doing business, and so they tried to get some tax on it. But the feds used this to tax the shit, or not allow dispensaries to write anything off. So back to the term bud tender actually comes from a tax dodge, because if you're at the shop and you're working at the shop, you can't write that employee off at all. But if you're tending to the plants, now you can write it off. So everything on the retail side is 280E, applies to 280E. Everything on the wholesale side in your MIP or in your grow doesn't apply to 280E. So if you're doing pre-rolls per se, what you're doing is you want to do that at your grow. That way you don't have the tax or the 280E issue with that work being done at the dispensary. But yeah, the point about the bud tending essentially is like the tax agent, if you will, comes in, they say, oh, well, that's your employer, they're working the counter. And they say, no, he's a bud tender, meaning that, no, he goes to the back of, back here in the warehouse and tends to the plants. So he's not covered under I can write off his salary. That was the idea of the invention of the term bud tender. And again, 280E, just know, if you're on the retail side, you can't write anything off. This is important. You need to understand this. You can't write off your rent and your payroll and your taxes and the cost of doing business. None of that shit can be written off. If you're on the just wholesaling on the wholesale side, if you just have a grow, you just have a MIP or something, and you're wholesaling your products to stores, doesn't really apply to you. But I would say if you're vertically integrated, have a grow and a MIP and a store, do the most amount of work with your employees out of your warehouse. That way you can write that labor off per se. Okay, 280 is a motherfucker. You learn about it if you're serious about this. Metric's just a track and trace system. You need to use metric to be able to track everything from seed to sale. Some jurisdictions like California have more than one seed to sale tracking system. It's $40 per license. You pay it every month. It's relatively easy to learn. I'm not going to go over metric. It's fucking boring as hell, but you need to learn metric to be able to do business. Taxes are paid monthly. They used to let us pay like quarterly or annually, but we'd all run up fucking huge bills and not pay. And we see each other in the tax office every month, and we're trying to work out how to pay it all down and everything else. So you just pay your taxes monthly. They require you to pay your taxes monthly, but pay your taxes monthly. Dealing with inspectors, this is probably out of order a little bit, but this kind of involves like when people show up at your business to inspect your business. My only advice to you guys is going to be literally don't get on their bad side. Obviously, that's very common fucking knowledge, common sense, like advice I'm giving you guys or whatever. But these people are definitely somebody who you want to be friendly with and everything else. Like the fire department, when they come in to inspect, you're going to get inspected all the fucking time. It's almost going to feel hard for you to work because there's going to be a fire department coming in. There's going to be the health department coming in. Department of Ag is going to come in. And they're just going to come non-fucking stop and ask you to see this or look at that. And thing is you've done all this work, right? You should be ready for it. You're prepared. You don't need to be scared. You don't need to be intimidated. But when they show up, show them respect. Essentially, you know, just don't get lippy with them. Don't get shitty with them. Don't act holier than thou with them. Don't think you know more than them, because trust me, they'll make fucking your life a living hell. You don't want to go down that road. Modification of premise. This is something I want to touch on real quick. It's an interesting thing where literally every time you do something in weed, you need to modify your premise. You want to move a camera 3 feet to the left. You want to move your clone machine over from 10 feet from there over to there. You need to file a modification of premise, and modification of premise is like $150 each time. And then you get re-inspected by all the buildings inspectors come out and they make sure what you did. The health department will come out and inspect. The department of services, the zoning people will come out and inspect. The fire department will come out and inspect because you moved your clone machine 10 feet and you needed signatures on all of this stuff. So just know it's a constant circle jerk. It never really stops. With that said, like any modification of your premise is going to require inspections. Packaging, just because now we've finally gotten to the point, say you got your warehouse, you got your license, you're starting to grow, you've got your product going out. You can't just sell it in a bag of weed. You know what I mean? You've got to get packaging. Packaging is not cheap. Generally, it comes from China. Like in China doesn't sell 100 bags. They sell 5,000 or 10,000 by the unit. So you're going to need to buy packaging in bulk. It needs to be childproof. I would tell you, don't get lost in the packaging game, because you can spend thousands of dollars trying to make a dope package, and what the fuck is the point? Let your product do the talking, but at the same time, don't come out with a Ziploc baggie or some shit. It's not going to work for you. Average market rate, you need to know it's a moving target, guys. So as you're going over all this stuff and you're putting it into your business plan, you're trying to formulate what you're going to do. This is an important point, is just because the pounds are selling at a certain rate at this time doesn't necessarily mean the pounds are going to be selling at the same rate in 2 years or a year and a half from now, or the shatter or the hash or the live or the rosin, whatever product you intend to make probably isn't going to stay at the price point you had when you initially formed your business plan. So no, it's a sliding target. We've seen cannabis in Colorado slide all the way down to $600, $700, $800 a pound and be as high as 32 a pound. So you need to understand where the average market rate is and where you fit into that. But know that it will probably move by the time you get to where you're going. Testing labs. So this is another interesting point I wanted to bring up. So now you've got your weed and you finished it. You got to send it off for testing. You've got to get your microbials, your potency. Now they're doing heavy metals on it. The interesting thing about this is, I'll be frank with you guys, you can fucking lose all of your hard work off of a shitty sample you send in for testing. Sometimes I don't even know why this shit. 2 years ago, we had issues with microbials failing on a couple of batches. The weed was fucking perfect. It was fine. I know it was fucking fine. And we had plants fail right next to plants that showed 0 counts of spores. So we're talking, 10 CFUs or whatever. And then the next one has, a million CFUs. And I'm going, that's fucking impossible, right? This plant doesn't have any molds or mildews or anything else on it. And then I'll just say this on air, some people might think I'm full of shit or whatever, but these labs are fucking up constantly, and they could fuck you as well. I mean, if you have dirty fucking weed, you're going to fail. But I think that sometimes these labs potentially can screw up. So what I would say is do smaller batches, smaller batch runs through testing. That way you don't compromise an entire fucking room or everything else, because somebody has a dirty fucking plate that they're using at the lab, and all of a sudden this batch of weed's coming hot on microbials. Nobody understands this yeast and mold shit. Even the people down here, I shouldn't say nobody, but it's a mystery to me why some of this stuff is fucking happening. And the only thing that I can equate to is variables at the lab, because I'll just say this much: I've sent the same plant to 3 or 4 different labs and got completely fucking different results at every lab. So I'm at the point now where I'm not going to check my procedures. I'm more concerned with how these fucking labs are handling product. So essentially you got to the end, but the lab could still turn around and bone you. Audits, be prepared to be audited. They're going to crop your ass, you know, when they're going to look at all your stuff that you spend. Just keep track of everything you do, run your books clean, you know, get a set of QuickBooks, be ready for it. It's not that stressful. The first 10 years of this shit, I used to freak out, and I was so nervous every time that a med investigator or an auditor or somebody would come in the door. I would literally start shaking, you know what I mean? Being like, I don't, you know, I hope we're good. I don't know. But now after 10 fucking years, I've started to come to a realization where it's just like, dude, I've done all the fucking work. I know all the stuff that I need to know. Everything is in order. There's no reason I need to be nervous with these people. If anything, we're providing these people fucking jobs. It's not like you need to be quaking in your boots every time someone shows up or whatever. Just be friendly to them. And in time, you have everything writing on it, so you get nervous. But in time, you will learn how to handle it. Sorry about that, everybody. Waiting for some folks to come back in the old chat. We ran over our hour, but basically that was right to the end of my little fucking presentation. So, yeah, sorry we expired the time. But we're back. I'll wait a few moments for everyone to come back. I'll try to fire this joint up that I've been trying to smoke the entire time. So, yeah, if you're with us on the extended show, I'm not sure this part will be in the old IG live that we put up in a bit. But yeah, sorry about that. We went long, everybody. But that actually was the end of my little PowerPoint fucking deal, my little fucking word vomit there. The last thing on my little presentation there says, "Are you still with me?" I don't know if you can even read that, but basically, if you watch all of this shit and you still think like you can do this, you know, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. I'll just say that much, because it is possible. The biggest caveat is going to be, can you get a good location, a good landlord, and you know, can you hang the first 2 years while they're trying to screw you around, or can you move out of the city where you can get your plan review much quicker and get right to work? There's nothing that's holding you from selling your products in the city, but yet making them out of the city. With that said, though, yeah, I'm pretty much gonna wrap this sucker up. I'm kind of done. I think I have one more seed pack. So this one is grape. What the fuck is this one? Grape Smash. We're gonna give away some Grape Smash. I'm gonna give this one away. Dark Horse Genetics Live at gmail.com. Just simple, this one, Grape Smash. First one to put Grape Smash in the comments, go ahead and send it over, and you will win the pack of Grape Smash. All right, so that's pretty much it. I'm gonna take a few questions if anybody's actually watching this thing. Let me pull up my comments on this deal. But yeah, anybody has any questions about how you start a shop or what's up with shops or any of that, fire away. Biggest difficulty gaining investors? This is a good question, dude. So honestly, to gain an investor is probably one of the easiest things to do. That's then you're like, what the fuck? Are you serious? But no, it's not nearly as difficult as you might think, because everybody wants to get in the weed thing. There's a million fucking millionaires with weed that are like, oh, I want to be in the weed business. You know what I mean? They don't have a fucking clue how to do it. So yeah, the idea, I would look for, you got to be careful of predatory loans. So I've seen loans as high as like 25% APR, where it's like, what the fuck are you doing? You're borrowing hundreds of thousands of dollars at the crazy APR. But I would say in a good loan would be somewhere between 5 and 10%. A medium loan, average loan is going to be 10 and 15, and starting to get kind of sketchy after 15 to 20, and 20 to 25 ridiculous. So be careful about predatory lending, but look for angel investors. There's actually tons of websites out there where you can get with angel investors. And if you take the information and build a really great business plan, you know what I mean, take it serious, you'll find that you'll find investors much easier than you thought you'll find. Finding money is one of the easier parts of this whole equation in the end, if you're serious about yourself. The old IG, hopefully we can splice this together and make something decent out of it. Sorry, we're having issues with it, but yeah, my man, I appreciate everybody tuning in and watching. Let me see if I can't tighten this broadcast up a little bit next time, but I appreciate it, everybody. We will sign this fucker off. Same bat time, same bat channel next week. Peace.